My son asked me to transfer $20,000 before his emergency trip, so I revealed my surprise. The text came at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. My son Kyle. Mom, I need to talk to you. Urgent. Can you call me right now? Urgent! That word made my heart race. Was he hurt? Sick? In trouble? I called immediately. He answered on the first ring. Mom, thank God. I need your help. I have an emergency business trip to Dubai, leaving tomorrow morning. But there's a problem. The company's reimbursement system is down. I need to pay for the flights, hotel, everything up front. $20,000. I'll get reimbursed in 2 weeks. Can you transfer the money tonight? I need to book everything now, or I'll lose my spot on the project. $20,000. Tomorrow morning. Emergency trip. Dubai. Reimbursement in 2 weeks. It all sounded reasonable. Urgent. Real. Like something that could happen to anyone with a corporate job. Kyle, that's a lot of money. Are you sure the company will reimburse you? Yes. I have the email, the project approval, everything. This is a huge opportunity, Mom. Career-making. But I need the money tonight. The flights are getting more expensive by the hour. Can you do it? Please? Something felt off. The urgency, the pressure, the late-night timing, the exact amount. 20,000, not 19 or 21. The Dubai location. Exotic, expensive, believable. The reimbursement promise. 2 weeks. Specific timeline. It all felt rehearsed, scripted, planned. But he was my son, my only child. If he needed help, I should help, right? Let me check my account. I'll call you back in 10 minutes. Mom, there's no time. I need to book now. Can't you just transfer it? Trust me? I'm your son. 10 minutes, Kyle. I need to check something. I hung up, and instead of checking my bank account, I checked something else. Something I'd been monitoring for 3 weeks. Something Kyle had no idea I knew about. Something that was about to blow up his entire scheme. Because this wasn't an emergency business trip. This wasn't about Dubai or projects or reimbursements. This was about Kyle's girlfriend Amber. And the luxury vacation they'd been planning. And the money they needed to fund it. My money. $20,000 of my retirement savings. For their vacation. Disguised as an emergency. And I had proof. Screenshots. Messages. Planning documents. Everything. I'd been waiting for this moment. For Kyle to actually ask for the money. So I could spring my trap. Reveal my surprise. Show him exactly what happens when you try to scam your own mother. He had no idea what was coming. No idea I'd been 3 steps ahead the entire time. No idea that his emergency was about to become very real. Just not the way he expected. My name is Linda Morrison. I'm 64 years old. 3 weeks ago, I discovered my son was planning to scam me out of $20,000 by pretending he needed it for an emergency business trip. In reality, he wanted to fund a luxury vacation with his girlfriend. He thought I'd just transfer the money. Thought I'd believe his story. Thought I was a gullible mother who'd do anything for her son. He was wrong about everything. This is the story of deception, discovery, and the perfect trap I set for a son who underestimated his mother. Let me start at the beginning, so you understand exactly how I discovered the truth, and exactly what Kyle was about to learn. 3 weeks before the urgent call, I was having lunch with my friend Patricia. We were talking about our kids, her daughter, my son Kyle, normal mother conversation. Then she mentioned something that made me freeze. Linda, isn't it exciting about Kyle's promotion? Dubai project manager. What an opportunity. You must be so proud. I had no idea what she was talking about. Kyle hadn't mentioned any promotion. Hadn't mentioned Dubai. Hadn't mentioned being a project manager. He was an entry-level marketing analyst at a tech startup, not someone managing international projects. When did he tell you this? Oh, I saw it on his Instagram. Last week. Big post about his new role. Moving to Dubai for 6 months. Starting next month. You didn't know? I didn't know. And Kyle hadn't told me. Which meant either Patricia was confused or Kyle was lying to someone. Time to investigate. I went home. Opened Instagram. Found Kyle's account. And there it was. Public post. 3 days old. Excited to announce my promotion to Dubai project manager. 6-month assignment starting April. Big opportunities ahead. Fast career goals. Dubai, Rablest. 200 likes, 50 comments. All congratulating him. All believing him. Including his girlfriend Amber commenting, "So proud of you, babe. Can't wait for our adventure." Our adventure. Not his adventure. Our. Meaning Amber was going too. Meaning this work assignment included his girlfriend, which didn't make sense for a legitimate business trip. Companies don't pay for employees' romantic partners on work assignments. I started digging, scrolling, looking for more, and I found it. Comments between Kyle and friends. "Dude, how did you score 6 months in Dubai? Man, your company is amazing. Living the dream." Kyle's responses. "Yeah, they're covering everything. Flights, housing, per diem. All I have to do is manage the project. Easy money. Covering everything. The company?" Meaning he was telling people his employer was funding this. But his actual job, entry-level marketing analyst, doesn't involve international project management. Doesn't involve Dubai. Doesn't involve 6-month assignments. Something was very wrong. I called his company, pretended to be verifying employment for a loan application, asked about Kyle's position. They confirmed. Marketing analyst, level 1, based in Seattle. No international assignments. No promotions in the past year. No Dubai project. Kyle was lying. To everyone. To his friends. To social media. To me by omission. About a promotion that didn't exist. About a Dubai assignment that wasn't real. About a company paying for something they knew nothing about. Why? I kept investigating. Looked at Amber's Instagram. Found planning posts. Packing for 6 months abroad. Dubai bucket list. Apartment hunting in the Marina District. 6 months. Dubai, Marina District. The expensive area. This wasn't a business trip. This was a vacation. A long, expensive vacation that Kyle was funding somehow. But he didn't have $20,000. Didn't have the savings for 6 months of expenses. Didn't have the income to support this lifestyle. So where was the money coming from? That's when I realized he was going to ask me. Was building the story, creating the cover, manufacturing the business trip narrative so he could get money from me. His mother, his trusting, loving, supposedly gullible mother, to fund a vacation he was disguising as work. Brilliant. Except I'd figured it out. I decided to wait, to watch, to gather evidence, to let Kyle make his move so I could spring my trap. 3 weeks of monitoring, screenshotting, documenting, building my case, waiting for the inevitable emergency call, the urgent need, the pressing timeline, the request for $20,000. And tonight, it came, right on schedule, exactly as I'd predicted. Emergency business trip, tomorrow morning. $20,000. Reimbursement in 2 weeks. All lies, all scripted, all designed to manipulate me into funding their vacation. But I was ready, so ready, and Kyle was about to learn what happens when you try to scam someone who's been documenting your scheme for 3 weeks. I called Kyle back, exactly 10 minutes later. As promised, he answered immediately. Desperate, anxious, pressured. "Mom, did you check? Can you transfer the money? I'm about to lose the booking." "Kyle, I have some questions first." "Mom, there's no time for questions. I need the money now." "Who approved this Dubai project?" "My manager." "Why does it matter? What's your manager's name?" "Sarah. Sarah Chen." "Mom, why are you interrogating me? What's the project called?" The Middle East Expansion Initiative." "Mom, seriously, I don't have time for." "When did you get promoted to project manager?" Silence. Long silence. Panicked silence. "What? You're an entry-level marketing analyst. When did you become a project manager qualified to manage a Dubai assignment?" It's a temporary promotion for this project." "Mom, why are you asking, is Amber going with you?" More silence. Longer silence. He knew. He knew I knew. He knew the game was over. But he tried anyway. "No, this is a business trip. Just me." "Why would Amber?" "Kyle, stop, I know everything. I've known for 3 weeks. The Instagram post. the comments, Amber's packing videos, the apartment hunting, the Marina District, the 6-month vacation you're trying to fund with my money. I know all of it. Dead silence. Complete silence. The sound of a scheme collapsing. The sound of panic setting in. The sound of a son realizing his mother isn't as gullible as he thought. Mom, I can explain. You lied to me. You lied to your friends. You lied on social media. You created an elaborate fake business trip to scam $20,000 from your own mother. There's nothing to explain. The facts are clear. It's not a scam. I was going to pay you back. With what money? You don't have savings. You don't have a promotion. You don't have a Dubai assignment. You have an entry-level job and a fantasy vacation you can't afford. So, you were going to steal from me to fund it. I wasn't going to steal. I was going to borrow. Without telling me the truth, without disclosing it was for a vacation, without explaining there's no reimbursement. That's not borrowing. That's fraud. That's theft by deception. That's a crime. You're being dramatic. I'm your son. I needed help. I was going to... Kyle, stop talking. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Amber. Tell her the Dubai trip is canceled. Tell her you lied about the business assignment. Tell her you don't have the money. Tell her the truth. Then you're going to delete every false post about your fake promotion. Every lie about Dubai. Every deception you've spread. Then you're going to apologize. To me. To your friends who believed you. To everyone you lied to. And then we're going to have a very serious conversation about honesty, integrity, and consequences. Understood? Silence. Then, you're really not going to give me the money? I'm really not going to fund your fraud. No. Fine. Then I'll get it somewhere else. I don't need you. Good luck with that. And Kyle, when you inevitably can't get $20,000 from anyone else, and you realize your vacation is canceled, and you face the embarrassment of admitting you lied to everyone, remember this moment. Remember that you chose deception over honesty. That you chose to scam your mother instead of being truthful. That you destroyed your own plans through your own dishonesty. All of this is on you. I hung up, blocked his number, and waited to see what he'd do next, because this wasn't over. Not even close. Kyle was desperate, committed, in too deep to back out easily. He'd try something else, and I was ready. So ready. With evidence. With screenshots. With phone records from his company. With everything I needed to stop him. Permanently. If you've had family try to scam you, create elaborate lies to take your money, pressure you with false emergencies, manipulate you with fake business trips, you know this betrayal. Share your experience in the comments. And if these stories of family deception and justice resonate with you, please subscribe to Lindsay Stories. The next day, Kyle tried a different approach. Email instead of phone call. Subject line: I'm sorry. Body. A long explanation about pressure, opportunity, mistakes, planning to tell me the truth eventually. All manipulation. All designed to make me feel guilty for saying no, for catching him, for refusing to fund his scheme. I didn't respond. Just saved the email. Added it to my evidence file. Waited for the next move. 2 days later, Amber called, crying. Linda, please. I know Kyle messed up. I know he shouldn't have lied. But this trip means everything to us. We've been planning for months. We've told everyone. We've quit our jobs. We have our flights booked. We just need the money for accommodation and expenses. Can't you help us? Please? You quit your jobs? Yes, both of us. 2 weeks ago. We're leaving in 3 days. We have everything ready. We just need... Where did you get money for flights if you need $20,000 from me? We used credit cards. We'll pay them off with the money with the money we thought. You put international flights on credit cards with no way to pay them off, quit your jobs, and expected me to fund your 6-month vacation? It's not a vacation. It's a lifestyle experience. We're going to blog, document our journey, build our brand. This is an investment in our future. It's a fantasy funded by fraud. Kyle lied to me, tried to scam me, and you were complicit. You commented on his fake promotion post. You knew he didn't have a Dubai assignment. You knew this was a vacation. You participated in the deception. Why would I give you money after that? Because we're desperate. Because we've already committed. Because if we don't go, we lose everything. Please. You chose to commit without having the money. You chose to quit your jobs without funding. You chose to base your plans on scamming me. Those are your choices, your consequences. Not my problem to solve. You're heartless. You're destroying our dreams. You destroyed your own dreams by building them on lies. Don't blame me for your poor planning. I hung up, blocked her number too, and realized they're in deep, really deep, quit jobs, booked flights on credit cards, told everyone, made public commitments. Now desperate to fund it, desperate enough to escalate, to do something drastic. I needed to be careful, vigilant, protected. 3 days later, the day of their supposed departure, Kyle showed up at my house, unannounced, with Amber, both dressed for travel, suitcases in the car, looking desperate, determined, dangerous. Mom, we need to talk. No, you need to leave. I'm not giving you money. We're done talking. Mom, please, just listen. We'll pay you back. Every penny. We'll send you money from Dubai. We'll work remote jobs. We'll figure it out. Just please give us the $20,000. We're leaving today. We can't cancel now. Yes, you can. You can cancel. Admit you lied. Face your consequences. Get your jobs back. Start over. Make better choices. That's what responsible adults do. We can't. Everyone knows we're going. Our friends, family, social media. If we cancel now, we look like failures, like liars. We can't do that. You are liars. You lied about the business trip. You lied about the promotion. You lied to me, to everyone. Canceling won't make you liars. You're already liars. Canceling will just make you honest liars who finally faced reality. Kyle's face hardened. Anger replacing desperation. Fine. Then we'll go anyway. We'll max out our credit cards. We'll figure it out when we get there. And when we're struggling, when we're in debt, when we're desperate in a foreign country, remember that you could have helped, that you chose not to, that you abandoned your son. I chose not to enable fraud. There's a difference. He stormed off. Amber followed. They drove away, and I watched them go, wondering, did they actually go? Did they really fly to Dubai with no money, no plan, no support? Or was this a bluff, a final manipulation attempt? Time would tell. I checked social media. Kyle's Instagram. New post. 2 hours ago. Airport selfie. Dubai, here we come. Adventure while living. The dream, or no regrets. They went. They actually went. Maxed credit cards. No savings. No jobs. No plan. Just desperation and stubbornness, and refusal to admit they were wrong. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable, but also their problem, not mine. I'd refuse to enable them, refuse to fund their fraud. They made their choice. Now they'd face their consequences. In Dubai, with no money, no plan, no backup. Good luck with that. 1 week into their Dubai adventure, Kyle called. Different tone. Scared tone. Desperate tone. Mom, we need help. Real help. We're in trouble. What kind of trouble? We're out of money. The credit cards maxed out faster than we thought. Hotels here are more expensive than we planned. We can't afford food. We can't afford anything. We need money to survive. Please, come home. We can't. The return flights are expensive. We use credit cards for one-way tickets. We don't have money to get back. Then you're stuck, facing the exact consequences I warned you about. The ones you chose by lying and going anyway. Mom, we could starve. We could end up homeless in a foreign country. You have to help. No, I don't. You chose this. You lied. You scammed. You ignored my warnings. You went anyway. These are your consequences. Figure it out. How? Get jobs. Sell your belongings. Call the embassy. Call friends. Call Amber's parents. Call anyone else, but don't call me. I'm done enabling your poor choices. You're abandoning me. You abandoned reality when you built a fantasy vacation on lies and expected me to fund it. I'm not abandoning you. I'm letting you face what you created. There's a difference. I hung up, blocked him again, and steeled myself for what I knew would come next. More calls, more begging, more manipulation, more desperate attempts to get money from the mother he'd tried to scam. But I was done, completely done. He'd learn this lesson the hard way, or not learn it at all. Either way, it was his lesson, not mine to fix. 2 weeks into the Dubai disaster, I got a call from the U.S. Embassy in Dubai. "Mrs. Morrison, we have your son Kyle here. He's requesting assistance to return to the United States. He claims he's stranded with no funds. He listed you as his emergency contact. Can you confirm your relationship and your willingness to assist?" I can confirm he's my son. I cannot confirm willingness to assist. He's in Dubai because he lied to me about a business trip, tried to scam me out of $20,000 to fund a vacation, and went anyway when I refused. His situation is self-created, entirely his own doing. I warned him. He ignored me. These are his consequences. Silence from the embassy official. Then, "Mrs. Morrison, your son is in a precarious position. He has no money, no housing, no return ticket. Without assistance, he may face legal complications with UAE authorities. Then he should have thought about that before lying and going to Dubai without funding. I'm not helping him. He needs to solve this himself. Ma'am, he's your son, and I'm the mother he tried to defraud, the parent he lied to, the person he scammed. Why would I reward that behavior by bailing him out? I understand your frustration, but no, you don't understand. You didn't discover your own child plotting to steal from you. Didn't watch him create elaborate lies to manipulate you. Didn't see him choose a fantasy over integrity. I understand my frustration, and I'm choosing not to enable him. He made his choice. Now he lives with it. We're done here." I hung up, felt guilt, felt doubt, felt the pull of maternal instinct to protect my child, but pushed it down, because protecting him now would teach him nothing, would validate his lies, would confirm that scamming Mom works, that if you fail, Mom will rescue you, that consequences aren't real. I couldn't teach that lesson, couldn't enable that mindset. He needed to face this, fully, completely, painfully. 3 weeks into the Dubai nightmare, Kyle returned to the U.S. I don't know how, whether the embassy helped, whether he borrowed from friends, whether Amber's parents paid. I don't know and didn't ask. He was back. That's all I knew. He didn't call, didn't visit, didn't apologize, just returned. Quietly, ashamed, broke, humiliated, facing the consequences I'd promised. The ones he'd ignored, the ones he now couldn't escape. I heard through mutual friends. Kyle and Amber broke up. She blamed him for the Dubai disaster, for lying about funding, for dragging her into debt, for ruining what should have been an adventure. She moved back with her parents. He moved into a friend's basement, both unemployed, both in debt, both dealing with consequences. 6 months after the emergency trip request, Kyle finally reached out. Letter, not phone call, handwritten, delivered by mail, formal, careful, apologetic. "Mom, I know I messed up. I know I lied. I know I tried to scam you. I know I hurt you. I'm sorry. Really sorry. I've learned my lesson the hard way. Dubai was a disaster. I lost everything. My girlfriend, my savings, my dignity, my reputation. I'm rebuilding, starting over, working 2 jobs to pay off debt. It'll take years, but I'm doing it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. Just wanted you to know I understand now. I understand what I did, what I lost, what it cost, and I'm sorry. Love, Kyle." I read the letter 3 times, looked for manipulation, looked for angles, looked for another scheme disguised as contrition, found none. Just genuine regret, painful understanding, real consequence faced. Maybe, hopefully. Time would tell if he'd actually learned. I didn't respond immediately. Sat with it, thought about it, decided I'll respond, but carefully, with boundaries, with conditions, with clear expectations, not to enable, to reconnect, but only if he proved he'd changed, really changed. Not just said sorry, but demonstrated different choices, better choices, honest choices. I wrote back, "Kyle, I received your letter. I appreciate the apology, but apologies are words. I need to see changed behavior, Proof you've learned. Evidence you're different. When you've paid off your debt, held steady employment for a year, demonstrated financial responsibility, and rebuilt trust through actions, not words, we can talk about rebuilding our relationship. Until then, I wish you well in your journey, but I'm not ready to reconnect. Not yet. Maybe someday, if you earn it. Mom, I sent the letter, drew my boundary, made my condition clear, and waited to see if Kyle would rise to it, if he'd actually do the work, if 6 months of consequences taught him anything real, if he was capable of change. 1 year after the emergency trip that never was, Kyle called. Mom, can we meet? Coffee? Just 30 minutes? I have something to show you. I agreed. Public place. Daytime. Clear boundaries. We met at a coffee shop. Kyle looked different. Older. Wearier. More grounded. Less cocky. He pulled out papers. Bank statements. Pay stubs. Debt payoff confirmations. I did it. Paid off everything. All the credit cards. All the Dubai debt. Working 2 jobs. Living cheap. Rebuilt my savings. Small, but it's there. I wanted you to see. Wanted you to know I meant what I said in the letter. I reviewed the documents. They were real. He'd done it. Paid off approximately $30,000 in debt while working 2 jobs. Living minimally. Demonstrating exactly the responsibility I demanded. I'm proud of you, Kyle. This is real change. Real work. Real accountability. I learned it from you. When you said no. When you refused to enable me. When you let me face consequences. I hated you for it. Blamed you. Thought you were cruel. But you were right. I needed to learn. Needed to fail. Needed to understand that lying and scamming has costs. You taught me that. Thank you. I'm glad you learned. But Kyle, I need to know. If I'd given you the $20,000 that night, if I'd funded the Dubai trip, what would you have learned? Nothing. I'd still be entitled. Still think I could manipulate you. Still believe lying works. Still be the person who tried to scam his own mother. You didn't teach me by giving me what I wanted. You taught me by letting me face what I'd created. That's the lesson I needed. The one I'll never forget. Good. Then let's start rebuilding, slowly, with clear boundaries, with earned trust. Not assumed trust. Can you accept that? Yes, absolutely. I'll earn it back, however long it takes. We talked for 2 hours. About Dubai. About the debt. About Amber. About his jobs. About the lessons he'd learned. About the person he was becoming. Not the person he was. The person he was choosing to be. Better. More honest. More responsible. More aware. Maybe. Hopefully. Time would tell if it stuck. 2 years after the emergency trip request, Kyle is thriving. Promoted at 1 job. Saved enough to move out of his friend's basement. Dating someone new. Someone who values honesty. Building a life based on reality, not fantasy. Making choices aligned with integrity, not deception. Completely different from the person who called me demanding $20,000 for a fake business trip. We talk regularly now. Relationship rebuilt. Trust earned, not given. Earned through consistent action. Through demonstration. Through proof, the way it should be. My name is Linda Morrison. I'm 66 years old. 2 years ago, my son tried to scam me out of $20,000 by creating a fake emergency business trip to Dubai. In reality, he wanted to fund a luxury vacation. I discovered his scheme 3 weeks before he asked for money, built a case, waited for him to make his move, then revealed my surprise. I knew everything, refused to fund his fraud, let him face consequences. He went to Dubai anyway, maxed credit cards, ended up stranded, had to come home, lost everything, spent a year rebuilding, paid off all debt, learned his lesson, earned back my trust. Now he's thriving. Different person, better person, honest person. All because I said no. All because I let him face what he created. All because I chose consequences over enabling. Best parenting decision I ever made. He asked me to transfer $20,000 before his emergency trip. I revealed I knew his scheme. 2 years later, he thanks me for saying no, for teaching him the hardest lesson, for loving him enough to let him fail. That's real parenting. That's real love. That's real consequences creating real change. Share this if family has tried to scam you. Comment if you've chosen tough love over enabling. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories for more stories of deception, consequences, and redemption. He asked for $20,000. I gave him a lesson worth millions. Best investment I ever made. That's everything. EOF. What I need to explain now is what those 3 weeks of investigation actually looked like. The detective work, the evidence gathering, the moment-by-moment discovery of just how elaborate Kyle's lie really was. Because it wasn't just a simple request for money. It was a coordinated, multi-layered deception that took planning, effort, deliberate construction. Understanding the full scope makes the betrayal deeper and the consequences more justified. Week 1 of discovery started with Patricia's innocent comment about Kyle's promotion. That Friday afternoon lunch that changed everything. I went home, opened Instagram, found the post, and started my investigation like a detective building a case. Methodically, carefully, thoroughly. First, I screenshotted everything. Kyle's promotion post, every comment, Amber's responses, her own posts about packing, about Dubai, about their plans, date stamped, saved, organized in a folder labeled Dubai Deception. Evidence, clear, undeniable, time-stamped proof of what they were planning. Then I called Kyle's company, not confrontationally, casually. Hi, I'm Linda Morrison, Kyle's mother. I'm helping him with a loan application. Just need to verify his employment. Can you confirm his current position and salary range? The HR representative was helpful, professional, gave me exactly what I needed. Kyle Morrison, Marketing Analyst Level 1. Employed since March 2022. Salary range $55-65K. Based in Seattle office. No international assignments. No recent promotions. I thanked her, hung up, and felt my stomach drop. Because now it was confirmed. Kyle's Dubai project manager promotion was completely fabricated. Not exaggerated. Not partially true. Completely invented. My son was lying to everyone. About his career, his opportunities, his life. To impress people? To set up a scam? Both? I needed to dig deeper. I created a timeline. When did the lies start? Scrolled back through Kyle's Instagram. Found the first mention. 4 months ago. Subtle post. Exciting opportunities coming up at work. Can't say more yet, but 2024 is going to be huge. Vague. Building anticipation. Setting the stage. Not lying yet, but hinting at something big. Getting people curious. Priming them for the promotion announcement. Strategic. Calculated. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. 3 months ago. Another post. Just finished a major presentation at work. Leadership team loved it. Big things ahead. Stay tuned. More setup. More anticipation. More foundation for the coming promotion. Except I knew, from HR, that Kyle was an entry-level analyst. He wasn't giving presentations to leadership. He wasn't being considered for promotion. He was creating a false narrative, step by step, post by post, building credibility for a lie that hadn't even been told yet. 2 months ago. Had an interesting conversation with my VP today. International opportunities on the table. Considering some options. Life is about to get very interesting. There it is, the international angle. The Dubai setup. Still vague, still hinting, still not lying outright, but creating the impression that his company was offering him overseas assignments, grooming his audience, getting them ready to believe. When the promotion was announced, it would seem like a natural progression, not a sudden fabrication. Brilliant, devious, sociopathic. 6 weeks ago, the announcement, major news, I've been promoted to Dubai project manager, leading a 6-month expansion initiative in the UAE. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. So grateful. Career goals. Dubai. Blessed. And everyone believed it. Why wouldn't they? He'd been building to this for months, dropping hints, creating anticipation. When the announcement came, it seemed credible, logical, expected. Nobody questioned it. Nobody called his company to verify. Nobody suspected he was lying, except me. Now, with evidence, with knowledge, with proof, I documented everything, created a spreadsheet, date, post content, engagement numbers, revealing comments, organized by timeline, showed the progression, showed the planning, showed the deliberate construction of an elaborate lie. This wasn't a spur-of-moment deception. This was premeditated fraud, months in development, carefully orchestrated, designed to manipulate, to extract money, to fund a fantasy. Then I looked at Amber's involvement. Was she a victim or accomplice? Her Instagram told the story. Comments on Kyle's posts from the beginning. "So proud of you, babe. You deserve this. We're going to have the best adventure." We, always we. She wasn't fooled. She was part of it. Complicit, participating, planning. Her own posts confirmed it. 4 months ago. My boyfriend is amazing. Big things coming for us. 2024 is our year. 3 months ago. Starting to research Dubai. Expat life looks incredible. Can't wait for our next chapter. 2 months ago. Passport renewed. Important trips ahead. Life is about to change. She knew, from the beginning. Kyle wasn't deceiving her. They were partners. In the lie. In the plan. In the scheme to fund their vacation with my money. Both guilty. Both complicit. Both deserving of consequences. I kept digging. Found their planning documents. Amber had created a public Pinterest board. Dubai dreams, apartment listings, restaurant recommendations, tourist attractions, beach clubs, desert safari bookings, 6 months of planned activities, expensive activities, luxury experiences, costing far more than $20,000. I calculated flights, $3,000, accommodation in Marina District, $4,000 month for $24,000 for 6 months. Food and entertainment, $2,000 month out of $12,000. Activities and excursions, $6,000. Travel insurance, $1,000. Total, approximately $46,000 for 6 months in Dubai. Living expensively, experiencing luxury, on my dime. Except I'd only be asked for $20,000. Where would the other 26 come from? Credit cards. They were planning to max out credit cards. Get $20,000 from me. Combine it with credit. Fund their fantasy. Then figure out repayment later. Or declare bankruptcy. Or blame the economy. Or blame me for not giving them enough. Didn't matter. They'd have their 6 months in Dubai. Their Instagram content. Their lifestyle brand. Their influencer fantasy. At any cost. Including fraud. Including theft. Including destroying their own financial futures. Week 2 of investigation. I started tracking their daily activities. Not stalking. Just monitoring public social media. Watching the scheme progress. Kyle posting about preparing for the assignment. Amber posting about packing for 6 months abroad. Both maintaining the fiction. Both convincing their followers. Both building credibility for the coming money request. I documented everything. Screenshots daily. Organizing by date. Building my evidence folder. Preparing for the inevitable confrontation. When Kyle would call asking for money. When I'd reveal I knew everything. When I'd watch his scheme collapse in real time. I was ready. So ready. Just waiting for him to make his move. Week 3, the timeline accelerated. Kyle posted, "Flights booked. Dubai, here I come. 2 weeks until departure." Amber posted, "Countdown begins. 2 weeks until our adventure starts. Can't believe it's really happening." 2 weeks. That's when he'd ask for money. That's when the emergency would happen. That's when the reimbursement system is down. Story would emerge. I could see it coming. Could predict it. Could prepare for it. Which I did. I wrote out his probable script. His likely timeline. His expected pressure tactics. So when the call came, I'd be ready. Completely ready. With evidence. With knowledge. With power. And I was right. Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Urgent text. Panicked call. Emergency business trip. Leaving tomorrow. $20,000. Reimbursement in 2 weeks. Exactly as predicted. Word for word. Beat for beat. Like he was reading from a script I'd already seen. Because I had seen it. In his planning. in his posts, in his progression toward this moment. That's when I sprang my trap, asking questions, poking holes, revealing knowledge, watching him panic, watching his story crumble, watching reality crash into his fantasy. It was perfect, perfectly timed, perfectly executed, perfectly devastating. He'd spent months building this lie. I'd spent 3 weeks preparing to demolish it. He never had a chance. The week after I refused the money, after he and Amber went to Dubai anyway, was fascinating. Watching from afar, monitoring their social media, seeing the fantasy collide with reality. Day 1, airport excitement posts. Adventure begins. Day 2, arrival posts. Dubai is amazing. Day 3, hotel photos, luxury suite, expensive amenities, marina views, all charged to credit cards they couldn't pay off. Day 4, reality started creeping in. Posts became less frequent, less enthusiastic. Photos showed cheaper locations, food courts instead of restaurants, public beaches instead of beach clubs. The money was running out faster than planned. Week 2, posts stopped almost completely. 1 photo, Kyle and Amber looking stressed. Caption, taking a break from social media to really experience Dubai. Translation, we're out of money. Can't afford to do anything photo-worthy. Can't maintain the fantasy. Can't keep up appearances. The scheme is collapsing. The adventure is ending. Reality is crushing us. But we can't admit it. Can't go home. Can't face the truth. So we'll pretend we're choosing to disconnect. Maintaining dignity while everything crumbles. Week 3, Kyle's desperate phone call. Mom, we need help. Real help. We're in trouble. I'd been waiting for that call, knowing it would come, knowing desperation would force him to break his pride, to admit failure, to beg the mother he'd tried to scam. And when it came, I was ready, with my answer, with my boundary, with my refusal to enable. Come home. We can't. Then you're stuck. That conversation was hard, hearing my son scared, desperate, in actual trouble. Every maternal instinct screamed, help him. But I pushed it down, because helping him would teach the wrong lesson, would validate the lie, would confirm that scamming Mom has no real consequences, that if you fail, Mom rescues you, that lying works as long as you're desperate enough afterward. I couldn't teach that, couldn't enable that, couldn't reward that, even when every fiber of my being wanted to protect my child. Week 4, the embassy call, official, formal. Your son is requesting assistance. I'd been prepared for this too. Knew Kyle would contact the embassy. Knew they'd call me. Knew I'd have to explain why I was refusing to help. And I did. Clearly, firmly, without apology. He's in Dubai because he lied and scammed. These are his consequences. I'm not helping. The embassy official didn't understand. Couldn't understand. Wasn't a parent who'd been defrauded by their own child. Couldn't grasp that sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is let their child face what they've created. Week 5, silence. No posts, no calls, no updates, just absence. I didn't know if Kyle was okay. Didn't know if he'd gotten home. Didn't know if he was safe. Had to sit with that uncertainty. Had to trust that he'd figure it out. Had to resist the urge to rescue. Hardest week of my life. Not knowing. Not helping, not fixing, just waiting, trusting the consequences to teach what my intervention couldn't. Week 6, I heard through mutual friends. Kyle was back, safe, broke, humiliated, but back. He'd gotten home somehow, survived somehow, faced his consequences somehow. Without my help, without my money, without my rescue. He'd done it himself, the hard way, the way that actually teaches. The way that creates real learning, the way that changes people. Mission accomplished. The 6 months after Dubai were quiet. No contact from Kyle. No attempts to reconcile. No apologies. Just silence. He was processing, dealing, rebuilding, figuring out who he was after everything collapsed. I gave him space. Let him work through it. Didn't reach out. Didn't push. Just waited. Knowing that if he'd actually learned, he'd come back different. Changed, better, and if he hadn't learned, he'd stay away. Either outcome was acceptable. because my role wasn't to force change, just to create the conditions where change was possible, which I'd done, by saying no, by refusing to enable, by letting consequences teach what I couldn't. The letter, 6 months later, was the first sign of real change, handwritten, thoughtful, apologetic without excuses, taking responsibility without blame. I messed up. I lied. I'm sorry. I'm learning. I'm rebuilding. Words are easy, but the tone felt genuine. The humility felt real. The understanding felt earned. Maybe. Time would tell. My response letter set the boundary, set the conditions, made expectations clear, prove it through actions, pay off debt, demonstrate responsibility, earn back trust. Then we'll talk. Not cruel, not punishing, just realistic. Trust isn't automatically restored after betrayal. It's earned through sustained demonstration of changed behavior, through time, through proof, through actions matching words. That's what I demanded. That's what Kyle needed to provide. If he was serious, if he'd really changed, if he wanted our relationship back. The year of rebuilding Kyle went through was exactly what he needed. Working 2 jobs, living minimally, paying off $30,000 in debt, learning about money, about responsibility, about consequences, about integrity, learning it the way everyone should learn it, through experience, through struggle, through having to face what you created and fix it yourself. No shortcuts, no rescues, no bailouts, just work, discipline, time, the old-fashioned way, the way that actually sticks. When Kyle showed me his paid-off debt statements a year later, I felt pride, real pride, not the shallow pride of, my son has a fancy job. Deep pride. My son faced his failures, took responsibility, did the work, and emerged better. That's real achievement. That's real growth. That's real change worth celebrating. And I did celebrate it, acknowledged it, honored it, because he'd earned it, really earned it, through sustained effort over time, proving through action that his apology was genuine, that his understanding was real, that his change was lasting. The rebuilding of our relationship over the next year was gradual. Coffee once a month, phone calls once a week, slowly increasing contact, slowly rebuilding trust, not all at once, not automatically, incrementally, conditionally, based on continued demonstration of changed behavior, of honesty, of responsibility, of integrity. Kyle proved it, month after month, choice after choice, building the foundation of trust that his lie had destroyed, earning back what he'd lost, not through words, through sustained action. The only way trust is really rebuilt. 2 years later, we have a real relationship again, better than before, because it's based on reality, on honesty, on earned trust, not assumed trust, not obligatory family connection, but genuine relationship built on mutual respect, mutual honesty, mutual understanding that actions have consequences and trust must be earned. That's healthier, that's stronger, that's more valuable than the superficial relationship we had before, when I assumed Kyle was honest because he was my son, when I trusted blindly because family, when I didn't question because parents aren't supposed to doubt their children. Now I know better. Trust but verify, love but maintain boundaries, support but don't enable. That's real parenting. That's real love. That's real relationship. The lesson I learned through this experience is profound. Sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is let their child fail. Completely, publicly, painfully, because failure teaches what success never can. Consequences create learning that protection prevents. Struggle builds strength that rescue destroys. When I said no to Kyle's $20,000 request, I wasn't being cruel. I was being loving. Loving enough to let him face what he'd created. Loving enough to endure his anger and my own guilt. Loving enough to trust that consequences would teach better than my intervention ever could. That's hard love, tough love, real love, the kind that costs the parent more than the child, but creates change that lasts, growth that sticks, learning that matters. If I'd given Kyle the money that night, If I'd funded his Dubai fantasy, what would he have learned? That lying works, that scamming succeeds, that if you pressure Mom hard enough, she'll surrender, that consequences aren't real, that you can avoid responsibility through manipulation, that growing up is optional. Those lessons would have destroyed him, would have created an entitled adult who uses people, who lies reflexively, who never learns accountability. I couldn't do that to my son, couldn't do that to the world, couldn't enable the creation of another manipulative adult who hurts people. So I said no. Let him fail. Let him face consequences. Let him learn the hard way. And it worked. He became better. He became honest. He became responsible. He became the person I'd always hoped he'd be, not by protecting him, by letting him fall and watching him choose to get back up. That's real growth, real change, real victory. My name is Linda Morrison. 2 years ago, I discovered my son was planning to scam me out of $20,000 to fund a vacation disguised as an emergency business trip. I investigated for 3 weeks, built a case, waited for him to ask, then said no, refused to enable, let him face consequences. He went to Dubai anyway, failed spectacularly, came home broke and humiliated, spent a year rebuilding, paid off all debt, earned back my trust, became a better person, all because I loved him enough to let him fail. That's real parenting. That's real love. That's real consequences creating real change. And I'd do it again, exactly the same, without hesitation, without regret, without apology, because saying no was the most loving thing I could have done, for him, for me, for everyone. He asked for $20,000. I gave him something more valuable, a lesson in consequences, in responsibility, in honesty, in growth through failure. That lesson changed his life, made him better, made him whole, made him someone I'm proud to call my son, not because of what he has, because of who he became, when I refused to prevent him from becoming it. Share this if family has tried to scam you. Comment if you've chosen tough love over enabling. Subscribe to Lindsay's Stories for more stories of deception, consequences, and redemption through accountability. He asked for $20,000. I gave him $1 million lesson instead. Best investment I ever made. That's everything. There's something critical I want to address. Something people always ask when they hear this story. Wasn't it cruel to let your son struggle in Dubai? Wasn't it heartless to refuse when he was scared and desperate? How can a mother do that? The answer requires understanding what parenting actually is. Real parenting. Not the Instagram version. Not the fantasy where you protect your children from every consequence and rescue them from every mistake. Real parenting. The kind that prepares children for adult life. The kind that teaches accountability. The kind that creates functioning adults instead of permanent children. Kyle wasn't in danger in Dubai. He wasn't starving, wasn't homeless, wasn't being harmed. He was uncomfortable, scared, facing consequences of his own choices. That's not danger. That's learning. That's exactly what he needed. What he'd avoided his entire life. The natural outcome of poor decisions. The reality check he'd never received. If I'd sent money when he called desperate, if I'd bailed him out when he was scared, what would I have taught him? That consequences aren't real. That if you fail, Mom rescues you. That you can make terrible decisions and avoid all responsibility. That growing up is optional. That manipulation works. That lying has no lasting cost. Those lessons would have created a monster. An entitled adult who uses people. Who never learns accountability. Who remains a child forever. I couldn't do that to him. Couldn't do that to the world. Couldn't enable the creation of someone who hurts people because he never learned consequences. So I said no. Let him be uncomfortable. Let him be scared. Let him figure it out. Because figuring it out is how you become an adult. Struggle is how you develop strength. Failure is how you learn success. I wasn't abandoning him. I was finally parenting him. Really parenting him. The way I should have all along. Before Dubai, I'd been an enabler. I see that now. Every time Kyle struggled financially, I helped. Every time he quit a job, I supported him While he figured things out, every time he made poor choices, I softened the consequences, lent him money, paid his rent, covered his car payment, made excuses for him, protected him from reality. I thought I was being a good mother, supportive, loving, helpful. I was wrong. I was creating an adult child, someone who never learned to manage money because Mom always rescued him, someone who never developed responsibility because consequences weren't real, someone who learned to manipulate because it worked. I'd enabled all of it, trained him to be exactly the person who'd try to scam me. The Dubai scheme wasn't a shock. It was the inevitable result of 28 years of enabling. Saying no to the Dubai money wasn't me suddenly becoming cruel. It was me finally becoming a real parent, finally teaching the lessons I should have taught decades ago, finally letting natural consequences do what my protection had prevented. It was late, overdue, but not too late. Kyle was 28, still young enough to learn, still capable of change, still able to become someone different, better, more responsible, but only if I stopped enabling, only if I let him fail, only if I endured the discomfort of watching him struggle. That's what I did. Not because I didn't love him, because I finally loved him enough to let him hurt, to let him fail, to let him learn. That's real love, painful love, parent love, the kind that costs you more than the child, but creates change that lasts. The guilt I felt during those weeks, when Kyle was in Dubai, struggling, calling for help, was crushing. Maternal instinct screams, protect your child. Every fiber of my being wanted to send money, to rescue, to fix, to make the problem go away. I'd lie awake at night wondering if I was making a mistake, if I was being too harsh, if I'd regret this, if Kyle would hate me forever, if I was destroying our relationship over money. The doubt was constant, overwhelming, paralyzing. But then I'd remember the lie, the elaborate 4-month construction of a fake promotion, the fake business trip, the scheme to defraud me, the willingness to destroy my trust for a vacation, the calculation, the manipulation, the complete disregard for my feelings, my trust, my relationship with him. And I'd remember, this isn't about money. This is about Kyle learning that actions have consequences. That lying destroys trust. That manipulation fails. That integrity matters. That being an adult means facing what you create. Those lessons are worth the guilt, worth the doubt, worth the pain, because they'll serve him for the rest of his life. Long after this pain fades, long after the guilt subsides, long after we've rebuilt our relationship, he'll have learned what truly matters. And that's worth everything. The redemption arc. Kyle's year of rebuilding is what makes this story worth telling, because it's not about punishment. It's about transformation. It's not about revenge. It's about growth. It's not about me being right. It's about Kyle becoming better. That's the point. That's the hope. That's the reason tough love matters, because it creates the conditions for real change, for genuine growth, for transformation that lasts. When Kyle showed me his debt payoff statements, $30,000 eliminated in 1 year through 2 jobs and discipline, I saw proof, not just of financial responsibility, of character development, of someone who'd hit rock bottom and chosen to climb back up, who'd faced humiliation and chosen growth, who'd experienced consequences and learned from them instead of blaming others. That's rare. That's valuable. That's worth celebrating. Because most people who fail that spectacularly don't recover. They double down on blame, on excuses, on victim mentality. They stay stuck, stay entitled, stay dysfunctional. Kyle didn't. He chose differently, chose accountability, chose growth, chose to become someone better. That choice, that transformation, that growth is what makes saying no worth it, makes the guilt worth it, makes the tough love worth it, because it created real, lasting, meaningful change. The relationship we have now, 2 years after Dubai, is stronger than before, not despite the conflict, because of it, because it's based on truth, on earned trust, on mutual respect, developed through honest confrontation and genuine reconciliation. Before Dubai, our relationship was surface, polite, fake, I didn't trust Kyle but pretended I did because he was my son. Kyle didn't respect me but pretended he did because I was his mother. We performed relationship without actually having one. Dubai destroyed that performance. Forced truth, forced honesty, forced us to rebuild from scratch, based on reality, based on earned trust, based on genuine respect. That's better. That's healthier. That's more valuable than the fake relationship we pretended to have. Now when Kyle says, "I love you," I believe it. When I say, "I trust you," it's real, not assumed, not obligatory, earned, real, true. That's worth the conflict, worth the pain, worth everything. The advice I'd give to other parents facing similar situations is simple but hard. Stop enabling. Start requiring. Let your adult children face consequences. Don't rescue them from their own poor choices. Don't soften reality because it's uncomfortable. Don't protect them from growth because growth hurts. Your job isn't to make their lives easy. Your job is to prepare them for adult reality. And adult reality includes consequences, failure, struggle, learning the hard way. If you deny them those experiences, you deny them the opportunity to become functional adults. You create permanent children, entitled, manipulative, dysfunctional, who hurt people, who use people, who never grow up. Don't do that to your children. Don't do that to the world. Love them enough to let them fail, to let them struggle, to let them learn. That's real parenting. Painful parenting, but effective parenting. The kind that creates adults instead of overgrown children. The specific advice for parents facing financial manipulation from adult children. Don't give in, even when they're desperate, even when they're crying, even when they're angry, even when they threaten to cut you off. Don't give in, because giving in teaches them that manipulation works, that pressure succeeds, that if they push hard enough, you'll surrender. That's not a lesson you want to teach, ever. Instead say, no, set boundaries, require honesty, demand accountability, let them face consequences, let them figure it out, let them grow up. That's loving them, really loving them, not enabling them, not rescuing them, loving them, teaching them, preparing them for adult life that requires responsibility, honesty, and accountability. Give them that gift, even when it costs you guilt, doubt, and temporary estrangement. It's worth it. They're worth it. Real relationship is worth it. My relationship with Kyle today isn't just mother and son. It's two adults who respect each other, who communicate honestly, who trust because trust has been earned, who have boundaries that are respected, who have a history that includes conflict, failure, growth, and redemption. That's real relationship, rich relationship, valuable relationship, worth more than the superficial connection we had before. When I assumed trust because family, when Kyle assumed rescue because mom. Neither of those assumptions was healthy. Neither was real. Dubai destroyed those assumptions, forced us to rebuild based on reality, based on honesty, based on earned trust and mutual respect. That rebuilding took 2 years. Took work, took commitment from both of us, but created something genuine, something lasting, something worth having. That's the gift of tough love, not just changing the child, changing the relationship, making it real, making it honest, making it worth having. Looking back at the moment Kyle asked for $20,000, that Tuesday night phone call that started everything, I don't regret saying no. Not for a second, not even slightly. I regret enabling him for 28 years. Before that, I regret not teaching accountability earlier. I regret protecting him from consequences that would have taught him sooner. But saying no that night, perfect decision, perfect timing, perfect consequence that created perfect growth. That's what I got right. Finally, after decades of getting it wrong, I got that one right. Said no, drew the boundary, let him fail. Watched him struggle, endured my guilt, trusted the process, waited for growth, and it happened. He changed, really changed, genuinely changed, all because I finally loved him enough to let him fail. That's what I got right. And it changed everything. For him, for me, For us. For the better. Forever. Kyle's transformation, from entitled scammer to responsible adult, took 2 years, but the foundation was laid that night, when I said no, when I revealed I knew his scheme, when I refused to enable. That was the catalyst, the turning point, the moment everything changed. Not because I was cruel, because I was finally courageous enough to endure his anger, my guilt, our estrangement, the uncertainty, the fear, all of it, for the chance, not guarantee chance, that he'd choose to grow, that he'd learn, that he'd change. That chance was worth the cost, worth the pain, worth everything. Because it worked. He grew. He learned. He changed. Became someone I'm proud of. Not because of what he has, because of who he is. Someone honest, responsible, accountable. Someone who faced failure and chose growth. Someone who experienced consequences and learned from them. Someone who became an adult, finally, at 28. Better late than never. And I helped create that. Not by rescuing, by refusing to rescue. That's my victory, my success, my contribution. Saying no, standing firm, letting him fail, watching him grow. That's what I'm proud of. Not protecting him. Finally not protecting him. Finally letting reality teach what my protection prevented. That's real parenting. That's real love. That's real success. 2 years later, Kyle thanks me. Not for the money I didn't give, for the lesson I did give. Mom, you saved my life that night. When you said no, when you didn't rescue me, you forced me to grow up, to take responsibility, to become someone worth being. If you'd given me the money, I'd still be entitled, still be manipulative, still be using people. You gave me the gift of failure, the gift of consequences, the gift of having to become better. That's worth more than $20,000, worth more than any amount of money. You gave me myself, real me, honest me, responsible me. Thank you for loving me enough to let me fail. That's redemption. That's transformation. That's why tough love matters. Not because it's easy, because it works. Not because it feels good, because it creates growth. Not because parents want to, because children need it. Real consequences, real failure, real struggle, real growth. That's what creates real adults, functional adults, honest adults, adults who contribute instead of consume, who build instead of take, who grow instead of stagnate. That's what Kyle became, by failing, by struggling, by facing consequences, by choosing growth, by becoming someone better. That's the gift of saying no. That's the power of tough love. That's the victory of parenting done right, finally, at last. Better late than never. My name is Linda Morrison. I'm 66 years old. 2 years ago, I discovered my son's elaborate scheme to defraud me of $20,000. I investigated for 3 weeks, built evidence, waited for his ask, then said no, refused to enable, let him fail in Dubai, watched him struggle, endured guilt and doubt, maintained boundaries, trusted consequences, waited for growth, and it happened. He changed, became better, became honest, became responsible, earned back my trust, built a real relationship, thanked me for saying no. That's success, real success, parenting success, worth celebrating, worth sharing, worth repeating. Because tough love works. Consequences teach, failure creates growth, and saying no can be the most loving thing a parent ever does. He asked for $20,000 for a fake emergency. I gave him something more valuable, the opportunity to fail, to struggle, to learn, to grow, to become someone better. That gift, that opportunity, that tough love changed his life, made him whole, made him real, made him someone I'm proud to call my son. Not for what he has, for who he became. When I finally stopped protecting him and started parenting him. That's the story. That's the lesson. That's the truth. Share it. Learn from it. Apply it. Because your adult children need consequences more than rescue. Need failure more than protection. Need tough love more than enabling. Give them that gift. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Because it works. Every time, without fail. When you have the courage to say no and the strength to watch them struggle, and the faith to trust, they'll grow. That's parenting. Real parenting. Effective parenting. Loving parenting. The kind that creates adults instead of children. People instead of problems. Contributors instead of consumers. Give your children that gift by saying no, by setting boundaries, by letting them fail, by trusting consequences, by loving them enough to let them hurt. That's real love. That's real parenting. That's real success. He asked for $20,000. I gave him a priceless lesson instead. Best parenting decision I ever made. No regrets, no doubts, no second thoughts. Just gratitude that I finally got it right. Finally loved him enough. Finally parented him correctly. Finally taught him what matters. Through consequences. Through failure. Through tough love. That changed everything. For the better. Forever. That's everything. This morning I had coffee with Kyle. Regular Tuesday morning routine we've established. He brings pastries. I make coffee. We talk. About life. Work. His girlfriend Sarah. My book club. Normal things. Mother and son things. Real relationship things. Not performative. Not obligatory. Genuine. Easy. Comfortable. Built on truth. On trust earned. On mutual respect. Developed through honest confrontation. And genuine reconciliation. During our conversation, Kyle mentioned something that stopped me. Mom, I'm mentoring a guy at work. 23 years old. Entry level. Smart kid. But entitled. Thinks the world owes him. Complains constantly. Expects promotion without work. Reminds me of me 2 years ago. Before Dubai. Before I learned. What are you teaching him? Accountability. Consequences. Reality. Same lessons you taught me. By saying no. By letting me fail. By refusing to rescue me. I'm passing that forward. Telling him my story. How I tried to scam my own mother. How I failed in Dubai. How I had to rebuild from zero. How that failure saved me. Made me better. He's listening, I think. Starting to understand that entitled doesn't work. That effort matters. That consequences are real. That growing up is required. Not optional. I felt tears. Unexpected tears. Because that's legacy. Real legacy. Not money passed down. Wisdom passed forward. Lessons learned through pain. Taught to others to spare them pain. Or at least, prepare them for pain. That's Kyle's redemption complete. Not just learning his own lesson. Teaching it to others. Breaking the cycle. Creating better instead of repeating worse. That's transformation complete. Real. Lasting. Meaningful. I'm proud of you, Kyle. Not for mentoring him. For becoming someone worth learning from. Someone who has wisdom to share because you earned it through failure. That's real growth. That's real success. I owe it to you. For loving me enough to let me fail. For being strong enough to say no. For enduring guilt and doubt and my anger. For trusting I'd eventually choose to grow. You gave me the hardest gift. The most valuable gift. The gift of consequences. Of failure. Of having to become better. I'll never stop being grateful. That's the moment I knew. 2 years of tough love. 2 years of boundaries. 2 years of watching him struggle and choosing not to rescue. 2 years of trusting consequences to teach what protection prevented. It all worked. Completely. Perfectly. Permanently. Kyle didn't just change behavior. He changed character. Became someone different. Better. Someone who teaches others what he learned. Someone who breaks cycles instead of repeating them. Someone who creates value instead of consuming it. That's success. Real parenting success. Worth every moment of guilt. Every second of doubt. Every hour of worry. All of it. Worth it. Because it created this. Real transformation. Real growth. Real legacy. Tonight I'll update my journal. The one I started 2 years ago. During those 3 weeks of investigation. When I discovered Kyle's scheme and decided to document everything, build evidence, prepare for confrontation. That journal has hundreds of entries now, chronicling the entire journey, the discovery, the confrontation, the refusal, the consequences, the silence, the letter, the rebuilding, the reconciliation, the transformation, all documented, all preserved, all proof that tough love works, that consequences teach, that saying no can be the most loving yes. My final entry will be simple. 2 years since Kyle asked for $20,000 for his fake emergency trip. 2 years since I said no. 2 years since I finally loved him enough to let him fail. Today he's mentoring someone else, teaching the lessons he learned through failure, breaking cycles, creating better. That's success. That's legacy. That's love done right. Worth every moment of pain, every second of doubt, every hour of guilt. Saying no was saying yes. Yes to his growth. Yes to his transformation. Yes to his future. Best decision I ever made. No regrets. Only gratitude. For courage to say no. For strength to maintain boundaries. For faith to trust consequences. For love enough to endure his pain and my guilt. That's real parenting. That's real love. That's real success. Mission complete. I'll close the journal. Put it with my important papers. Part of my legacy. Part of my story. Part of the evidence that tough love matters. That consequences teach. That saying no can save lives, change lives, transform lives. That documentation will outlive me. Will show future generations that loving someone sometimes means letting them fall, letting them fail, letting them hurt. Because that's how they grow. That's how they learn. That's how they become. That's the gift of tough love. The legacy of boundaries. The power of consequences. All documented. All preserved. All proof. Tomorrow Kyle and I are volunteering together. Youth Mentorship Program. Teaching teenagers about financial literacy. About consequences. About making good choices. About learning from bad ones. Kyle will tell his story. The fake promotion. The Dubai scheme. The failure. The debt. The rebuilding, the transformation. He'll tell it honestly, unflinchingly, vulnerably, to show them that failure isn't fatal, that consequences teach, that growth is possible, that becoming better is always an option, even after spectacular failure, especially after spectacular failure. That's his ministry now, his purpose, his contribution, teaching others what he learned the hard way so they might learn easier. Or at least understand what's coming, when consequences arrive, when reality hits, when growing up becomes required. He's preparing them, equipping them, helping them. That's redemption. That's transformation. That's legacy. And I'll be there, watching, supporting, proud, not of what he has, of who he became, through failure, through consequences, through choosing growth when he could have chosen blame, through becoming better when he could have stayed bitter. Through teaching others when he could have hidden his shame. That's character. That's integrity. That's worth. Real worth. Earned worth. The kind that matters. The kind that lasts. The kind that changes lives. His life. My life. The lives of teenagers he'll teach. The life of the co-worker he's mentoring. That's legacy. Real legacy. Better than money. Better than success. Better than anything. Impact that extends, ripples that continue, change that multiplies, all because I said no, all because I loved him enough to let him fail, all because tough love works, every time, without fail, when you have the courage to apply it. My name is Linda Morrison. I'm 66 years old. 2 years ago, my son tried to scam me out of $20,000 to fund a luxury vacation disguised as an emergency business trip. I discovered his scheme 3 weeks before he asked, built evidence, waited for his move, then said no, refused to enable, let him face consequences. He failed spectacularly, struggled, suffered, then chose growth, rebuilt his life, earned my trust back, became someone better, started teaching others, created legacy, all because I said no, all because I loved him enough to let him fail. That's success, real success. Parenting success, life success, worth everything, worth sharing, worth celebrating. Because tough love works, consequences teach, and saying no can be the most loving thing a parent ever does. He asked for $20,000 before his emergency trip. I revealed my surprise. I knew everything. I refused. He failed. He grew. He became. And now he teaches. That's transformation. That's redemption. That's love done right. Mission complete. No regrets. Only gratitude. For courage, strength, and faith to love him enough to let him fall. That changed everything. For him, for me, for everyone he'll impact. That's legacy. Real legacy. The kind that matters. The kind that lasts. The kind that changes the world. One tough love decision at a time. Share this if you've chosen tough love over enabling. Comment if you've let your adult children face consequences. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories for more stories of boundaries, transformation, and the power of saying no with love. He asked for $20,000. I gave him something priceless. The opportunity to become someone worth being. Best investment I never made. That's everything.